Welcome to the Choosing Happiness podcast with me, your host, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. Welcome to the Choosing Happiness podcast with moi, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. Even wrote a book about it. Yes, shameless plug, of course. Speaks 8 languages. So, that's what actually inspired me to create this here podcast. And I'm super excited for my next guest, Miss Christel Crawford. She's gorgeous. So here's the thing. If y'all on Apple or Spotify, quit being stupid and jump over to the YouTube so you can see how gorgeous this lady be. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Of course. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good, I got to say, because I've been going my own way lately.
Mm-hmm.
You ever get lost where you just feel like you're following what everybody expects you to do and all the things, and then one day you say, you know what, this isn't actually real and true for me. What's actually real and true for me that I've not yet discovered because I've been too busy pressing my nose up against something else that maybe isn't all of me, maybe parts of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think for me, what's also true is that I change.
Yeah.
And that might be even a little more accurate for me anyways, that I just, I've changed and I continue to change. And the latest in going my own way was just to really fully acknowledge how much I changed, and that what worked for me even last week, all of a sudden this week doesn't,
Interesting. Yeah, I like where this conversation's going. Before we get into it, could you tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
To my podcast listeners and those that were smart enough to actually jump on YouTube now.
Yeah, well, I'm an access consciousness facilitator. I've been doing that work for 10 years. I would say I'm also just a coach and a facilitator. I do a lot of facilitation and coaching around business and getting and pivots and transitions and emerging out into the world. Like that's sort of my thing. I think when you've done something and you've changed your life as many times as I know I have, and I'm sure you have, empowering others to know that they can do that too has been a big source of like energy for me. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm all that.
And she's gorgeous too. Show them your earrings. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So I lived in Colombia for like a year, and Panama a year before that. And yeah, so my life's been all over the map, as any good, I think, creative person's is, right? They're just creating and exploring and living and experimenting and trying to find what works and what doesn't, and that all changes. So yeah.
I love it. So this, you can go your own way, Let's talk about that for just a minute now.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I mean, I brought that up as a title or a topic just because I know that's the thing that I'm exploring, and I'm not alone. The more I've been talking about my choices, the more people are coming out of the woodwork to go, me too. And I think one of the biggest things that is showing up with all of that is the feeling of when you do choose to go your own way, one, of feeling like an imposter because you've been so deeply informed by what you've been a part of or how you've spent your life's energy up to that point. So it's like, is there a me, actually? And two, like that sort of feeling of being a heretic, right? Like you're leaving the fold, so to speak, or you're like that feeling of, I went through that when in my 30s, I was a Christian. I went to Bible school. I was actually studying to be a pastor.
Oh my God, if I was going to be a nun, I was raised.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in my 30s, I read this book called The Sins of Scripture, and something just unlocked in my world, and all of my belief system unraveled right in front of my eyes. And I panicked because my entire life was built around this group of people, like this community, this belief system. And all my friends on Facebook were from that, so like, so I was like, I can't say this
was
out
your
loud.
identity that had been you, and you chose it as real and true because that's all you knew, right? And we're going to make sure to have the link to that book if you guys are interested in the show notes.
Yeah.
So, wow.
So that was a big thing. So I did that, and I went my own way, and for a while I kind of was rudderless, I would say. Like I was married at the time. I got divorced. I got remarried. That was a kind of a dark. I went through the dark ages, and then I got really suicidal because I was like, I can't figure out how to be happy. I don't know how this is. I don't know how to do this. And then
it's just a choice, yo.
Yes.
So was cranky pants. So you were cranky pants for a while.
I was really depressed. Yeah.
What? So what pulled you out of that? How did you choose happy with all that going on? You're like, I'm not who I thought I was. I feel like I'm an imposter. I pretended to be something and I didn't even know I was doing that. I mean, I'm leaning into the energy of it because I was raised Roman Catholic, which is more righteous than regular Catholic, just so you know.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why that thumb just
That's the new Mac update. I'll do it too.
It's like this heart thing. I was doing it the other day. And then
there. Yeah. I mean, like there's just all kinds of things, right? Like you can do.
I love it. Oh, it's a party. Now y'all really going to have to go over to the YouTube. But as I was saying, so here I am, clairaudient, clairvoyant, all the clairs, because it runs in my family. And I'm sitting there in church, and I know I interrupted you, but we'll get right back to you.
It's okay.
And I am doing the rosary in front of the Blessed Mother statue. And she suddenly opens her eyes, her real eyes, and animates herself to me and says, "No, little Andrina," which is my given name. Not little, but Andrina. "You're not meant to marry Jesus. That's not your calling. This isn't the only thing." And so I remember telling I don't know why I decided I had to telling my dad that this had happened, and he was like blasphemy, and he backhanded me in the face and all this. And then I learned that, okay, you know what? Just because I could see that don't mean that anybody else can. And that's when my mom finally fessed up and said, it's your lineage. You were talking things when you were in your crib, even though you weren't speaking yet. You're not that, yeah. And so all of a sudden I had to pretend like I wasn't who I was either for years.
Yeah.
I'm seeing fairies and I'm talking to the trees and they're talking back and nobody believes me. So here you are feeling like an imposter because you have been firmly implanted into this belief system. First of all, I just acknowledge how brave you were to go, oh, maybe this isn't true for me.
Yeah, there was 7 years between the moment I left the kind of the church and then the suicide thing. Like I couldn't figure out how to be happy. That your thing of choosing happiness, I didn't know was a thing.
Right.
And
a lot of people don't still.
Yeah. So I was just gonna go. I'm like, I can't figure this out. I can't do this. The thing that pulled me out of it in that moment was just this kind of silent thing in my world that was like, what else is possible? I could feel myself energetically screaming that. And so anyway, I did a whole different thing. I actually had a new friend at the time, and she got me to a practitioner that did this thing called BIE. And we just started like, it's like acupuncture points on your face and on your body, and it clears out energy. And so I changed my diet and I did those sessions, and I did start to feel more stable. And like 2.5 years later, when I was going through another massive transition, I started to kind of feel desperate again. And that's when I found Access Consciousness and I got my bars run. And that was probably another one of those, that was another one of those huge pivotal turning points in my life,
This is what I knew was possible. Finally, it took you so long to find me.
Yeah. So for a really long time, Access Consciousness was me going my own way. And what I'm noticing starting to happen is like, one of the things that happens with Access Consciousness tools is you grow up and you start becoming you, and you start, it's like a kid going up into an adult. And now you're like, okay, now I've got my own ideas and my own urges. And like, what can I create that is, all me?
What would I like to choose now?
Yeah.
What would I like to create and generate now?
Yeah.
Now that I actually have an idea of who I am and I actually like me.
Yeah.
What? Yes, you can actually like yourselves if you choose. I knew I was a weirdo of magnitude. I am so different from my siblings. And I know what you mean by going your own way. I mean, they're all still very Catholic.
Yeah.
Roman Catholic, righteously Roman Catholic, which is much better than just regular Catholicism. And then I have one sister who went her own way, met a dude, married him, and he is Mormon. So now she Mormon, her 6 children's is Mormon. And I remember going to visit with Celeste, that's my mom. She doesn't like me to call her mom in public, though, because she wants everybody to believe we're sisters, right? So she's 90. And she wants everybody to believe she's 70, and I'm 60, so you do the math. Anyway, so we went to go visit my sister, my oldest sister, and all of her kids and their kids, and they all have kids. Oh, my God, they're worse than Italians, man. They have lots of babies. And they didn't know that Jesus wasn't just Mormon. They had no idea that Jesus was also Catholic and Christian and all the things. And they discovered it because we decided to go to this church museum.
Jesus was actually Jewish.
I know, right? At least
he was literally a Jewish rabbi.
And he's right. I know. Isn't that funny?
He wasn't any of those things.
No, he wasn't.
He taught in the synagogue, in the Jewish synagogue. Like, that's how educated he was. Yeah, that's so funny.
Here we are, and every cubicle had a different church representing the same as Jesus. And they're like, going to my sister, Mom, why is Jesus over here? And why is Jesus over here? And he ain't wearing the same deeba-deeba-dee. And it's so funny because I've just recently been interested in the scriptures just out of curiosity because it was so crammed down my throat that I've been watching The Chosen with Celeste. She loves it. She thinks I'm converting back to Catholicism. And it's really, and it's funny too, because I remember overhearing one of my siblings talking to my mom and saying, how come Andrina doesn't go to church with us anymore? And she said, God bless her, because she knows I hear shit all the time. She goes, well, it's just so noisy in there because she's hearing all the voices from all the saints and whatever that are also in mass that she can't even focus on what's going on. And I just remembered that one time we were in Italy and that actually happened. We were visiting churches and I was like, I got to get out of here. And my mom was like, what? And I said, they're all talking to me because they know I can hear them. And I'm going to lose my mind. I'll wait for you guys out here. So I think that was in Venice, actually, that little, because I had all of them buried in the ground. And they were all talking to me. I'm like, dude, I'm not here to talk to you. But okay, so you meet a new friend and they introduce you to Access. And I'd like to go into that more, but I got to pay the bills, y'all. So we're going to take a moment for our sponsor, Mandu. Mandu is not a hair salon for men, y'all. Mandu, Manduu, is an electrocution workout. Yes, I know I said it. They hate it when I say it, but I do it myself. It's actually all these electrodes to your body, and it's like little TENS units firing up all the muscles you didn't even know you had. So if y'all just bear with us for 1 minute, it's only 1 minute commercial. Here's a little bit about my sponsor, Mandu.
Mandu is a boutique fitness studio concept, and we are actually the first FDA cleared EMS training workout. And what we do essentially is that we will have a client come in, we will hook them up to a whole body EMS suit, and then we perform a workout on a medical grade device called an eFit device. And that device will send an electrical current to their body through electrodes in these suits that we put on them. And this electrical current is just basically stimulating the electrical current that you already have inside your body. So everybody is made up of electrical impulses. It's what helps you walk, helps you move. We're tapping into that and making it stimulate it more to where we can cause a muscle to actually contract involuntarily. So we can actually create resistance without adding a load to the body. So that is why we, as you see online, it always says ultra low impact. It is scientifically proven. It is absolutely ultra low impact.
We're back. Lovely, beautiful, talented Christel Crawford, and we're talking about going your own way. So you was just telling us about how you had this pivotal moment called Access Consciousness, which that's how we know each other. Tell us a little more about that.
I mean, I was looking for something I didn't know how to find. I was looking for emotional stability. I wanted two things when I found Access Consciousness. I wanted to be good at relationships and I wanted to be happy. And And I went and tried the bars, not because I was like a bodywork person or I cared about that. In fact, I really didn't like people touching me. But because I had tried everything else. I'd done psychology, psychiatry, EMDR, I'd done BIE, I'd done nutrition, I had done hypnotherapy, I'd done breath work. The list was so long. I was a Christian for a long time. So, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try this too. So it ended up being really life-changing, like incredibly life-changing. And so much so that I went and had 4 more sessions, and then I found out there was another class, and I just went further. And then once I found I could be a facilitator of this work, it spoke to something deep inside of me that wanted to have an impact. I wanted to do something that wasn't boring, that was impactful to other people's lives, that really worked, because everything else I had tried hadn't worked. Right. And I just went after it. Yeah. So that's been the last 10 years of my life, is really just deep diving for myself into consciousness. Like, what does it take? What is consciousness? Consciousness is inclusion. What does it take for me to include me? All of me. All of me. Just as I am, without needing to change me, without needing to be different. What does it take to get access to the power of choice, which I can choose anything, and it's all included, and learning like that, just choices just create stuff. They create great things and they create shitty things. And what do you want to create? And, getting just kind of growing up, like, and that's a education and a parenting that I never got, that I basically engaged in and gave myself, and learned to parent myself, learn to be, be an adult of consciousness, and what the fuck that means, and
it's funny because we didn't grow up with any of these tools. And so my mother was, was all about the you do everything for your kids. She would put herself last, and it wasn't until she moved in with me that I'm like, have ice cream for dinner. I don't care what you do, lady. You're 90. Do whatever you want. You deserve it. This lady grew up during war times.
Yeah.
And the Germans had invaded Italy. And
can't even imagine.
She didn't have shoes for like 3 or 4 years of her life. Watched a friend run into an apple orchard.
Yeah.
Because there was all these landmines around the apple orchard. So these trees are pregnant with these beautiful apples, and they're starving. And her friend just couldn't stand it any longer. My mom almost ran behind her until she stepped on a landmine and she watched her friend blow up with bits.
Yeah, gosh.
And she was like, oh my God. So her grandmother ended up raising her. Her father was a prisoner of war, a very famous conductor in Italy. And he was, Hitler actually had him put together a band for him. And then when he tried to escape, they put him in a lineup and shot one way and then the other way. And so he had all the shrapnel in his legs, and he fell before they could get him in the chest. So he hid under dead bodies until he could find a way to escape. I think found a dog and clobbered it and ate it because it was so weak. The stories, I wish I could have written a book about my grandfather and my mom, but she deserves, to get her happy on. And so now she does whatever she damn well pleases in my house. I told her, you can die in my house, but you got to be all of you. I'll take care of you and stuff, but I want you to choose for you. You don't need to do this, but you do have to make the pasta sauce because you're a better pasta sauce maker than me.
As long as you make the pasta sauce, you can live in my house. That's my only rule.
That and the stuffed artichokes.
Okay.
Man, she's good at those. Girl, so good.
Yeah.
But what is it for us? We weren't parented. So here you are now parenting yourself. You're an adult of consciousness.
That sounds so significant.
I know, don't it though? It's so, because I tell you what, the more conscious I become, the more I'm willing to not make myself right or wrong anymore about anything.
Well, that is consciousness. That is like, that really hit me one day. I think there's a lot of shrapnel out in the world around consciousness. I think a lot of consciousness has been made very spiritual. It's not spiritual. It's natural. And if you look at the earth is just natural, right? It just includes everything. It's we are actually surrounded by more consciousness than probably unconsciousness based on the fact that there's an earth. But there is an interesting thing occurring. Like the more people that are born, I was listening to this lady. I can't even remember her name. She's an engineer. She started this company that is starting to ask the question, what if we grew everything? And she's basing she was raised by MIT. Basically, she was a designer at MIT anyway. But
wow.
But her premise is like, we are currently with design and product design, not including the earth. And what if we did? What if we looked at everything that we are designing from? What if we grew this? So, meaning at this point in history, we have more unnatural structures, built structures on the earth than we do earth.
Oh my goddess.
So we've
really?
tipped. Yeah. And she has a terminology for that I wish I was smart enough to remember, but
I'm sorry, trees. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at my trees over here.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. We're such assholes.
But anyway. The thing is that it's the natural world that is the consciousness. And so we're starting to squeeze that out with our idea of what we think should exist. And that's the thing that's making our lives a little harder, because we're all pretty psychic and we're picking up on everything. And we've got all these invented points of view and structures, the things we think the world should work and relationships should work and money and all that stuff. And so what Access
real, by the way, y'all.
Yeah.
My interesting point of view.
Yeah. And so what Access is saying is like, well, what if you are aware? And what if what you're aware of isn't yours? And what if you could be the source and the creator of a different world? What's the world that you want to live in?
Oh, I love that.
And where can you start with it? So that's really the thing that got me into this, I think, what is going to be this next era. We were going to use Taylor Swift terms. The next era is like really starting to create the world I want to see, from me, the source of, we're all sources of something.
And the inclusion of you, you are part of the equation. By the way, why do we always leave ourselves out of the equation?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So who knows what that's going to bring for us?
Yeah, I wonder what that's going to look like. I'm sure it will have iterations.
You're going to have to be a repeat offender, because what we're going to do is we're going to come back in a year's time, or maybe, 3 months, because now every day seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
Don't it?
I'd love that. Yeah, absolutely. See what's next. See what's up. See how it's showing up now. Yeah.
It's interesting because I was talking to Vinny earlier, not today, another time, about how I'm kind of revisiting all the stuff that I was prior to Access, where I'm actually talking to my crystals and my divining rods. I picked up my divining. I'm going to show you this because it's so crazy. You're going to be like, what? So I had this guy that was worked with what do you call it? Those trying to think what with okay. See what I'm saying? It's like consciousness is everywhere. I don't have to do. I love the demonstration though. How about the other way? Let's just speak up. It's stuck. Okay, there it goes. So it's like consciousness is everywhere, right? And it's only us that believes that things are inanimate. There's no such thing as an inanimate object. Everything carries consciousness, right? But I had not been using these because I'd used them before, and people would come in to measure their energy fields. And sometimes they'd be like this. And I'm just, for those of you that aren't looking, they're pointing in one direction. Maybe you're driving or whatever. And, I wanted to get them here before I even got them on the table. And I did all kinds of other stuff on this here massage table, even before Access, because that's where I'd gone, and I'd used crystals, but I'd stopped using all these things. And I was telling Vinny, I picked these up the other day because I had a client come to me that had been coming to me way before I ever did Access that says, where's my energy field? And I picked them up, and they were so excited. They were just like crazy. And I went, I know, I'm so sorry. And I touched him, and I'm sorry, I haven't been playing with you. You've probably been feeling, you're just sitting there, going, is she ever going to play with us again? And I went to a bookstore because I wanted to maybe do a bars trade there or something. And my sunroom isn't big enough. And the woman that owns the store, they'd moved to a new location, remembered me and said, we need readers. Would you consider reading for us again? Because 15, 20, 25 years ago, yes, I'm an old lady, y'all. I did readings. When I first came to Nashville, I went and did readings. And I charged a lot then. I charge even more now. And I was like, well, I'll do it, but I'm not going to do it for these piddly ass prices that and she goes, oh, they all choose their own price. And I said, well, I would consider it. So here I am revisiting that part of me that I kind of abandoned, that got me to where I am to begin with.
Mm.
And, choosing for me, because what excites me is to see other people choosing. And so that's what led me on this, I think, similar path as you with Access. Because I just did the first call for How to Become Money workbook. And it's
Love
just
that tool. That is the best tool in the world to transform your money functioning.
Yeah. And it's not too late for y'all to join if you want to join. Always, by the third call, you got to be on board though. But it was just so interesting. It was, 10 calls along with this here book. Y'all could do it on your own if you wanted to. I'll put the link underneath. And it was funny because I had the old book, which was falling apart. I couldn't find it. So I had to order the new one. And then, of course, I found the old one. And I realized what was going on is I had all these old points of view written all over the pages. And it was time to update Rue, and go with where my brain was with that. Because nobody that does what I do should be able to afford the lifestyle that I do. Just, and that was another misnomer. It was like, you can't be a healer or a psychic and be able to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really funny points of view out there that are quite limiting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Coming from a family of 6 where they're all scientists and stuff, and they still don't get it. They're like,
yeah,
how are you driving a Mercedes? How are you adding a sunroom and all this stuff to your house? I mean, everybody else is struggling. Well, how are you doing it? I don't know. I don't even ask the question. I just choose it.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff. What do you suppose the next chapter, or what did you say, era is?
I would say it's the exploration of what's next. I mean, to be very vague about it, I guess, but it's the exploration of what's next. Like, what am I creating? What would I like to create if I could live in the world that I want to live in? One of the things I've gotten recently, I'm getting pieces and downloads, is that if I could choose the world that I live in, I would live in a world of artists. And I have a very different point of view about what art is. I think art includes singing and all the things we traditionally assume art is, but there are so many lost arts. The lost art of conversation, the lost art of consciousness, the lost art of relationship, the lost art of spirit awareness. There's arts that we don't consider arts because they're well, just because we don't, because somewhere somebody came up with what art is and what it isn't. And so I would live in a world of artists where people were actively practicing the creativity of their art, whatever that is. I know people that can hold a conversation better than anybody I know that I could never do even. That's an art form. It's a lost art form. I was talking to my friend Maxine. She's 80 this year. And she was like, these young people today can't even hold a conversation. And I was like, you're right.
It's true.
And so,
it's true.
Yeah. And, we've changed the way we communicate, but the conversation is a lost art. It's something, Gary Douglas talks to us all the time. He's like, you got to be interested in other people. And we all look at him like, what do you mean?
Be interested, not interesting.
Yeah, we're all out there trying to do our song and dance and our pony show to get people interested in us. And he's like, it's the other way around. And that's another lost art, right? So you could kind of probably find them everywhere. And so that would be the world that I want to live in. And I wonder what it takes to make that a reality.
I love that you put it that way. It's so true, too. I mean, I found that shutting my pie hole creates a lot more than when I'm filling space.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed my older brother, he can't be silent. Even if there isn't conversation happening, he fills it with humming or singing or, I mean.
That's a lost art. Silence is a lost art.
Yeah, because sometimes that speaks volumes. I remember saying to him one morning, he goes, well, I was trying to be quiet. And I said, no, you were listening to your Jesus tapes. I've been awake since you've been awake, because I wasn't feeling good over Thanksgiving. And he was in the kitchen. We turned this into his bedroom because there's a bathroom. And I rely on him a lot when I can't be here. When, he's like my mommy sitter because he's retired and all the stuff. But, I'm going to hell in a handbasket, all the stuff. But every morning he listens to his devotionals. And so I was in bed much later than I normally am. I'm usually up at 5 or 6, talking to Mother Earth and all the things, my hot tub. And he's playing. So I was like, no, I've been up since you've been listening to your Jesus tapes. my devotionals. And I get where he's coming from because, how can I put it? I was listening to a lot of the classes and stuff every morning or whatever until the point where I felt like I was on overload, where I was brainwashing myself because I couldn't decide if I really wanted to listen because I would get it felt like overwhelm to me. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. And so I unsubscribed to everything one day. I was just like, I don't know where I begin and where I start, where I end. I don't know who I am anymore. And that was really recent. It was around, and I was so sick too that I had a lot of time with myself, sinus infection, chest infection, stomach virus. I woke up in the middle of the night, projectile vomiting. I broke my toilet seat because I grabbed it in a way, literally broke it, and not in the back where the hinges are, like literally broke the side of it and sprained my finger. And I'm like, okay, body, what? You're wanting me to slow down. You're telling me, because, broke my wrist the day after Thanksgiving, hanging an ornament. And it was like, okay, body, I know you're a lot smarter than I am. You want me to slow down. Okay, we're not going to work out. We're going to stay in bed. We're not going to teach classes. We're going to, and that's when I finally unsubscribed to everything and started to find me again in my crystals and my divining rods and all this stuff. And I thought, where did I go? Why did I make everything else so much more significant than me? I mean, yes, I've grown. And what was wrong with the other stuff also?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting moment when you realize your addiction to consumption. Essentially, it's like the next piece of knowledge, the next thing. And I did something very similar. I don't know when, but sometime in this last year where I stopped following a bunch of people. I stopped looking for what other people were doing. I stopped kind of all the input, and I started really listening to me.
Yeah.
And that's ongoing. I'm getting to I want to say deeper. I don't know if it's deeper, but deeper and deeper layers, almost like the veil that used to be between me and me is thinning. And like yesterday, I was lying on the floor on the yoga mat, and I could actually perceive a me, and that me has a point, I want to say a point of view, like has a desire, has things that I'm going to call her she for now, but it was a really interesting moment where for the first time I was like, oh yeah, I exist. I'm a thing. I'm a being. And I do want things, and I have points of view, and I have preferences, and that's just, like that exists. And it was interesting to have that as a moment, because that sounds so simple and not earth shattering, but it came from almost shutting out all the other voices, not completely because I still do my scrolls, but to the point where I could actually receive and hear and listen to and choose from me. And so I hear you. It's a different moment.
Yeah, Mom, I always jokingly say, I'm just an infinite being pretending to be Rudrani Devi. This is the pony show for now, or whatever. And I know I'm larger than life sometimes. I mean, I'm annoying and whatever. I've literally had somebody come up to me in a restaurant and say, "You're not really this happy. Would you mind dialing it down?" And I thought, well, what do they know? Do they think I'm pretending to be this crazy person? I mean, this is the most we've ever had a conversation.
Yes.
And I've always oh, that girl got it going on. I love her style. I like all the things. You were talking about preferences. I have 13 fur coats, y'all. Okay. Yeah. I like nice jewelry. I like to drive a nice car. This is the first time I've ever driven the same make and model more than once, because I had a Mercedes convertible before this SUV that I love my car. But I've had a Lexus. I've had, a BMW. I like nice vehicles because I like driving fast. I like driving.
I like driving too.
It's fun for me. I'm very righteous, very good driver. Whenever anybody's in town, I won't let them drive, but let me drive because I'm better. They are things. But, we have our preferences. I used to read a lot. Now it's books on tape. And I know what you mean by being addicted to knowledge. You know,
I mean,
love learning.
I still like I've got 5 things on my Audible, but I guess what I'm feeding myself with has really changed. I think for me, I don't know what it was for you, but I know for me, I used to I had the point of view that I needed to be different, right? So I was really seeking change. Like I want
Hmm.
change, change, change. And what's changed recently is I want me, my voice.
God, every time you say that, my body gets all hot and bothered in a good way. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Me? What if
Me. I don't
me?
have to change. In fact, I'm the gift. I want me. I want my voice. I want what I want to know, what I want to choose. I want to know the world that I want to create. So the things I'm feeding myself with are more like fertilizer than change inducing, you know? And that's
Wow,
been really nourishing.
that's so yummy. I'm just tapping into the nutrients of that.
Yeah.
Goodness golly. Well, okay, you're going to be a repeat offender because here's the thing. We're going our own way, but I
Yeah.
would love to reconnect
Let's do it.
down the road.
Yeah.
And we're going to make a date, y'all. We don't know when it's going to be. I'm just going to throw 3 months out on my calendar and then I'll ping you.
Let's do
And we'll
it.
see where we are in 3 months, which will be
Yeah.
like 3 lifetimes from now or more. But here's the thing. It is called the Choosing Happiness podcast.
Hmm.
So I know that my listeners are just dying to know how you get your happy on.
You know what? I'm going to say that's a good question. That's something I'm really exploring right now. For me, there's certain things that like bust me out in a belly laugh. I think what I'm really exploring is what is happiness for me. You know, I know what it looks like. I know what it's been. I know what used to make me happy, and I would say I'm just actively exploring what is my happiness now. I know that a lot of it is listening to myself and nourishing myself, which is kind of takes different forms on different days.
Yeah.
Um,
Same. Sometimes nourishing myself is watching episode after episode of The Chosen.
yes. Yeah,
No.
absolutely. Yeah, I think I geek out on Selling Sunset sometimes. Like it's terrible, but Love is Blind.
Right. So good.
Yeah, so it's different every day, but you know, it is funny because like Andres and I, my partner, have really been talking about that. You know, like what is happiness
Andreas?
for us? Yeah.
Andreas? Oh my God.
Mhm.
My name is Andrina. And so
Yes.
Andreas is the male version, I
It's actually
guess.
no A, just Andres.
Oh,
He's yeah,
giddy
it's
up. Never
very
mind.
it's the Spanish version of Andrew. So
How'd you find him?
I found him on Facebook dating when I was visiting a country.
Giddy up.
Yeah,
Yeah, she lives in other countries. Where are you from originally?
here, the States. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and we moved to Colorado. I grew up there.
Kansas City.
I know.
That's so cute. I had a director I used to represent when I was a film producer that was from Kansas City. And Kansas City or somewhere in Kansas, it was such a small town. He goes, yeah, we had one McDonald's.
Yeah, I was born in a trailer park. Like we didn't have any money. My mom was really young. She was 21. My dad was 27. I'm pretty sure they got married because they were pregnant with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at you creating a family.
Well, we don't talk now, so I don't know if I did. I definitely created a body, not a bad one. I'm pretty pleased with the mix. But
Yes. Banging. I think your body's banging. It makes me happy just to look at you. That's how I get my happy on. Them
oh,
earrings. Oh, you guys, look at these gorgeous earrings. Oh, can't help it.
yeah.
I know they're gorgeous.
Thank you,
They're gorgeous.
Ronnie. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on and just chit chatting all of it. You know, I think we're all on a journey. We're all in the process. We're in the mix.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Back to ourselves.
mhm.
What would that look like if you guys chose yourselves? Could you do that? Did you know it was even possible?
Mhm.
Right? Hey, you guys, if you like these conversations, you could hit the subscribe button. Then whenever
I
we go
mean,
to
would ya?
Yeah. Could you choose that for you? Or maybe
Could you just do it as a
somebody-
favor?
Yes. Because they'll start paying me once more if y'all get up on it, you know? what I'm
Listen,
saying?
we need her to make more money so she can say more things.
Yeah. No, y'all are just dying to hear what comes out of this pie hole, right? Yeah, maybe someone that is struggling in this conversation could be a contribution to them. Share with them. If you've listened this long, wow, thanks. All the stuff. So you getting your happy on, you're still working on
I'm
figuring
exploring it.
that Me too. I'm going to use the same answer. I'm going to plagiarize you.
Because I don't know if there is one answer. I mean, this part of my life is really different. Since my body's been really changing, I'm 48 this year and all the changes, and like it's really different. It's
You're
really,
winning.
really different.
She's
Yeah.
so winning. You would not know she's 28. All right. Well,
Cool.
thank you. I'm going to ping you in about 3 months.
Okay, I'll be there.
You're going to be back. I'll let y'all know when that happened.
Dun, dun,
So-
dun.
I know. Let's make it very significant. I should have that on a recording. Bum, bum, bum. Vinny, I know you're in the background listening. We need to get a bum, bum, bum.
That's it.
That whenever you can, you just plug that in for us. Okay? Okay. Vinny is the reason why this is even happening. He's my podcast guy and so much more. And he's a shaman. We love him. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Thanks
Thanks
you.
for being my guest. And until next time, ciao, ciao for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for choosing happiness. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, share, and give us a like. And if you want more happy, subscribe to the Choosing Happiness membership, where you can play directly with me, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. How does it get any better than that?